your voice? Yes. Microscopes scare me because I can't move. Those of you who know me from class know that I move quite a bit. So thank you all so much for being here, and welcome to Earth Day. Anybody remember when it was? 22nd. So 2 days late. Happy early Arbor Day. When is that? Next week, we'll just say that. Let's talk first about why we're here. Well, Earth Day is something that began in 1970, and for most people it was a good way to say, let's keep doing the things that we're doing right. That's what we're here to talk about today. Let's keep doing the things that we're doing right. So in front of you, with a whole bunch of things that you've received for free, that are recycled, that have ideas that other people have brought to you, I'd like to invite you today to participate with me, because this isn't a discussion on all facts. It's not a discussion on just the scientific method. It's not a discussion on, look at where I've been, how cool is that? It's all of these together to be able to say, what can we do right now that's super easy for us that helps the Earth? And so we look at survey results like you have in front of you, you and your teammate or group of teammates. Take a look at some of those, because this is what my students at Ancilla and my Facebook friends told me were the easiest things that they did. And as we're talking today, we're going to be looking at picking maybe just one thing. Is there one easy thing that you can do when you leave today that makes Earth more environmental? We're going to be going through some ideas in case you get to where you're saying, well, I've heard this before. I don't know, I still feel guilty. What do I need to do? Part of us being here is knowing that we are the local environment. And it's so great that you are here, and I thank you so very much. I did work at NASA. I worked for 2 years as an independent contractor through the Aquatic Research Institute, and we did distance learning in Indiana in the 1990s. I actually trained with people who had been in the International Space Station, and early on was working with students out of East Chicago to train them underwater. I'm also a licensed scuba diver through PADI. So a lot of what we're doing here I start off with because I've been doing this for about 20 years now. Talking with students, talking with professionals, talking with fishermen and fisherwomen and those who really know the environment well to say, well, what are you doing? And some of this will come here in a short presentation that I have for you today. So Facebook. If you've been on Facebook before, the social media site, here's good old Indiana, the least green state. Woo! Great way to start off a positive presentation, right? Why do you think it says that? Can you give any ideas? Just shout them out if you have ideas why Indiana would be called the least green state, because I don't know. There's reports that are listed that we can go back to and scientifically analyze, which is my cup of tea, but maybe not yours.
There's more.
What about some ideas?
There's more fields in Indiana.
Sam, right on. So there's more fields. So what does that bring them?
Chemical.
Fertilizers, pollution. Us, right? Jen?
There's a lot of meth labs in Indiana.
Okay, so we also bring things that the nature provides to us, plus some additional bonus material that humans have provided to make things like methamphetamine. You see here that it's pretty biased, right? When you look at others on here, and we go back to what it shows us for pleated jeans, and we look and we say, okay, come on, really? Is that really what we're best known for? Well, maybe, but let's not make it like that anymore. At least not here at the center for Donaldson. Let's figure out a way to show people what we've been doing, what the poor handmaids have been doing long before this United States of Shame even came out. And so we'll be looking at some of those ideas today. Your survey in front of you. The question that I asked of my students and of my Facebook friends, what is the easiest thing that you do to help the environment? Please take a look at what the survey shows, because you might be surprised at some of the results. What I'd like for you to do with your teammate is very briefly take a look and see which one or ones are you surprised at. Which one or ones would you do? Which one or ones do you do? You can get together with your friends. We've got extra copies here for people who came in or just want an extra copy for themselves. Take a look and see. 2 minutes. Please work with the person next to you. Jumped out at you. Were there any that you were surprised about? Good.
We experienced a cleaning with only vinegar and baking soda.
Excellent. So we're implementing some of these same practices.
But Joan's saying it didn't work.
It didn't work. All right, so maybe the cleaning with just one type of solution doesn't quite work for everything, but what would it work for some? And some of the research that I've done has shown, as well as just practicing at home, I clean at home, it works well on some things, but not on others. So can we change maybe one of the cleaning products in our cottage, in our home, on our campus, to be replaced with something a little more environmentally friendly like this? Maybe. Thank you. Other ideas that jumped out at you?
On-demand water heaters.
On-demand water heaters. Why so?
Energy.
Good.
Energy usage. Using this.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, like paper napkins, for example, because I was thinking if you use cloth napkins, then you have to put them in the laundry, which uses detergent,
Very
which
good.
uses energy, and so
Very good.
what? Yeah.
We really have to look at it and say, well, is one pro really somebody else's con?
Yeah.
Because if we're washing and using soaps and using things that aren't so environmentally friendly to wipe those cloth napkins, which is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
So that brings up a good point. Thank you both for those. In the back.
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
How do you make your own laundry soap?
Has anybody done it?
I think Cynthia Davis, who is in charge of the co-op, makes her own laundry soap.
Great. It's typically when you get borax or some kind of soap particles or flakes, and you put them together, usually with something that breaks down a lot easier in the environment. When I've seen this, I actually asked each person who had done these, please tell me about this, and somebody who had given that to me got it from Facebook and said it really works well if your water is suited for it. Other times, you kind of have to watch because if you have hard or soft water, it can change. But you can. There's actually about 5 people who I surveyed who came up and said, I've got this, it's cheaper, it's nicer, it's mine, I feel good about it because I did it. Very cool. Very cool way of making environmentalism personal. Any other ideas that kind of jumped out at you, please?
I thought it was a great idea to bring your own container for takeouts.
Yes.
It's so simple, and yet it takes care of the styrofoam.
Yes. To bring that, carry that with you to say, thank you, we need this brought back with us, here's my own. Surprise the waiter or the waitress. Yes.
Purposeful candle.
Purposeful candle mainly was just saying if somebody said, let's do it on this occasion for a purpose. So instead of leaving the lights on, the friend of mine who had done this with her family said we have lights out nights. And all we do is we put candles, we play board games, all electronics, everything is off and unplugged, and we do this for special occasions, but we also do it every week. And it really unifies her family. From what she had told me, it's purposeful and it's eventful for them. Good. So if you flip yours over, I thank you so much already for your contributions. You flip this over and here comes the science end of me, talking about what at least Geddes did in You Make a Difference, reminding us that maybe there are things that are positive and even more positive. You Make a Difference, recommended to me by a colleague who works in our science division here. Reduce, reuse, recycle, the 3 R's. Okay, maybe you've heard of those, maybe you do some of those, maybe you will do some of those. Fantastic. But the 2 I liked here were ones I hadn't heard of before in these 20 years in which I've been working in this field. Reject and reward. Which if you look at some of the things that are on the other sheet, a lot of what we're talking about in here is I do or don't do this. I heard a lot of people as I came around saying, I don't do this because of this. It wouldn't work for me. The vinegar, why waste the vinegar and put that into a potential water stream if it doesn't work? So could there be another solution? The reward, I thought was interesting because it seems pretty consumeristic to talk about what can we do that can reward others. And the ideas that were brought up in the book were things like, if you gift somebody something, give them a gift to a museum membership, theater tickets. Where do those ticket stubs go? To enrich and enhance somebody's life. Functional cultural diversity, which we'll see in just a second, and it really helps the environment because there's no waste, right? It literally is, from beginning to end, an environmental type of project. So on these sheets, the reason why I ask you to work in partners is because as we're going along, if ideas come to you, or to either of you, or to all of you, that jump out and say, I never thought about it this way, please share them with us. 'Cause look at how many people are in the room. That's great to be able to talk like this in an environmental event that is just lasting about half an hour for us. And here I have done some work with, I'm a scuba diver that's trained, like I said, and we were measuring native clams. The native clam and mussel population of Lake Geneva. This is me, here's my pink mask to show it. And we were looking to try to save the populations by measuring them, looking at their location. We put them right back in the same place again, tried not to disturb them as much as possible, and did population studies. Where do you think this falls? This study falls into. Does it fall into any of those R's? Recycle? We kept the clams there? Yes. Reward? Okay, rewarding others for coming out. It was a group of us that went to Lake Geneva and did this. So we trained others, and I brought some of my students with me to do some of this. Really, you can almost make this fit to anything, right? That's the purpose of the 5 R's, is if you find something that you think is worthwhile, there's a good chance it's going to fall into one or more of these categories. To look at what we see for great news, Geddes also said that in statistics from 1999 at least, 50% of America's waste is recyclable. Recycling reduces some air and water pollution up to 90%. All American glass bottles and jars are recyclable. I didn't know that. Aluminum and plastic dispenser weight, so the amount that's actually used when we make the cans or the bottles, is down 30% since 1960. Remember, this is a positive, so everything that I'm presenting here are things that we are doing good. More American companies are doing that reward R. They're demonstrating environmental care and even providing service learning and environmental aspects for their employees. Vapor recovery nozzles at the gas stations. Think back, how many years ago have you seen them? They've become more commonplace now to have that little cap so that fumes don't go into the air when we're filling up. Driving at 55. I don't know if everybody does this. It does save energy by about 20%. So if we go down where the speed limit's supposed to be, it saves energy compared to where we're tempted to go at 70 miles an hour. Energy Star appliances. Not only are we getting rebates for those, but they also are becoming more popular and economical. It won't cost you 5 years worth of salary to figure out how you can recoup your costs in that amount of time. Compact fluorescent light bulbs, the S-shaped ones that we see, they're demonstrating what I call eco-value. Looking at not only can we save money over the next 15 years, but also what value does that put on us when we all demonstrate that reward. How easy it is just to replace one light bulb and save so much energy for all of us. Air drying dishes reduces electricity use by 30%. And finally, programmable thermostats by 20%, and then 75% in 1999 in this poll considered themselves environmentalists at the American level. How many of you would consider yourself environmentalist? It's tricky, right? Because it's kind of scientific and political and all that at the same time. So to look to see what we're doing here, I wanted to integrate into a little bit of knowledge about what is going on in our center to be able to talk about our biosphere. From the ecology standpoint, the biosphere is the accumulation of all life, which includes our water, the hydrosphere, our air, the atmosphere, and our land, the lithosphere. Here on campus, we use our senses, we use experience, and we use reflection to try to learn the most about our 3 local areas, which include our freshwater lake, Lake Gilbreth or Gilbert, a black oak savanna, which lines the area, and white and black oaks is part of the sandy area, and the tall grass prairie. That's typically the eastern border of what we find in a lot of the prairie states. To look at each of those helps us see that things have changed in the blink of an eye. 14,000 years sounds like a lot? Maybe. We see here that we used to have Lake Chicago, and it receded. As the glacier pulled back, we have those dunes, the sandy areas, and the swales, the wet areas in between. Why do we need to know this? Because this is our backyard, and this is how we learn to be local environmentalists. We treat things differently, from gardening to learning how to teach others about it by knowing what's in our backyard. And if you haven't gone into your backyard, dig it up. There's a good chance you're going to run across sand, and that's because of these ecological processes that we've studied. When we look at the oak savanna, we're part of what's called an eastern sand savanna that we have here. And you can see parts of Indiana, but also then into some of these northern and southern states that involve these black and white oaks, and other types depending on where you're going. But the key here is that we have sand. So how many people like to garden? If you garden in sand, probably not going to work out as well unless you have desert/dune plants. So when we do things like compost, we can actually be making things that assist with the growing of these plants in our own areas. Interesting. Tallgrass prairie. When we look at us being the easternmost area here in Indiana, we see that a lot of what's coming to us comes from what they call an ecotone, these blending of areas, these natural areas. If we understand these three, then what we see for the reduce, reuse, recycle makes it easier to keep it here and keep it local. For the other two R's, we sometimes have to get a little more excited and find out new ways, and that's why we're here together. Together then, all of these make up the biosphere. And if we were really looking at the business economics connection, we call it the IPAT model. The impact that we have on the environment, they've brought down to a calculation of P times A times T, which is population times what they have available to them for affluence, times what they have available and willing to use for technology. And what we see in here is that people are really trying to do something about it. Billion acts of green pledge, almost at 1 billion acts. This is from last Earth Day. Look at how many people have done the same thing that we're doing here, but in their home computers, or at their residences, or with their work, or maybe with us like this. So if we add us to these, we're pretty close to 1 billion if we keep doing this every day for a little while. That's why I'm asking you to think of one thing today that you can do that's easy for you to do that will make a positive impact when we look at how many of us collectively we have together. Seeking biodiversity then, connecting it to things that we teach here at Ancilla. From our ecology class, we learned that there's different life forms and processes that help us survive on Earth, whether it's genetic, built-in, species, where we find differences between organisms, ecological, where we find things, how they function, and even human cultural diversity, which often is overlooked as being a source of ecological and environmental richness, because we all bring wonderful new experiences to the table. And sometimes that's hard to measure when we're looking at some of these main values. From plastic pillows, I'll leave these up here so you can take a look. This is made entirely out of, anyone want to take a guess? Pop bottles, plastic bottles. It's warm, it's cozy. I wish I had these to give away. But we do have wonderful things like shoehorns, which we have made from recycled instruments or recycled things. We have this that goes into this. The pencils that you got are money taken out of circulation. So you got money in your hands here for getting this presentation. Other things that are available to us, and I wanted to show you, they've loaned me these, are pots that are made from recyclables that we can plant and use. We've got turf that's been made to put into kids' playgrounds, made from recycled plastics and tires. We've got bags. Anybody want to take a guess what this is made of?
Corn.
Corn. Yes. Excellent. And a variety of other things that we have up here that remind us that we have local resources that are willing to help us. And so if you have any of these ideas that are on the flip side or your own, and you need somebody to help you go get those or find out about these, please use me as a contact. I'm at the college at 378. I'd be more than glad to help with this, because both Marshall County and Stark County, as well as Pulaski County, have donated things as well as volunteered their time and efforts to help us with any things that we would need at an individual, campus, or center level at the Center for Donaldson. Finally then, we look at ways that we can connect this to people who have been there and done that. E.O. Wilson in the Sand County Almanac, which is in our Gerald J. Ball library, tells us, remembers, that perhaps the time has come to cease calling it the environmentalist view. So are we all really environmentalists? We're lobbying outside mainstream of human activity. Should we be calling it something like the real world view? And you know what he did? He just went outside and he recorded everything that he saw. That's why it's called the Sand County Almanac, or sometimes the Sand County Journals. He went and was one of the first to say there's power in observation. And we started looking at that as ecological studies that are outside of the scientific method. We also have Rachel Carson. If you've read or heard of Silent Spring, it's the power of us. We are one species that has a lot of influence over what's going on Earth. So let's spin it positively. Only within the moment of time represented by the present century has one species, man/woman, acquired significant power to alter the nature of the world. So what are we going to do? And can we do more? It's up to you. And so with what we're talking about today, with the ideas that you've shared with your groups, is there anything that jumps out at you that you think is something that you would like to positively contribute? Okay, a lot of positive introspection then. We'll leave that for when you leave. But also keep in mind that just by being here, it's letting us realize the power of this room. Take a look around. Look at how many people are doing the same thing that you're doing right now. Taking 30 minutes of their day, of their month, of their year, to think about the things that they are doing right. So right on, because we hear too many negative things in my opinion, and everything needs to be congratulated when it comes to Earth. Some things that are being done we weren't aware of, connections to maybe some of your majors, people who are studying here. We have, for the first time, a biofuels corridor that starts in Gary and goes down to Louisiana. Positive efforts here in Indiana. Remember, we want to keep this local. Ancilla College. I teach here, I work here, I live here. Things that we are doing. We support, thank you, Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ and the Center for Dinosaurs. Thank you for all that you do. You got us involved, and we are proud supporters of the Earth Charter. If you haven't heard of that or know what that is, please let me know, and I'll give you a copy of what we have. Environmental Club, students, activism. Students have been really great in saying, we are willing to do this to help our environment. Try Ancilla. When we do things like swim in the lake, we've had to do testing. We bring other people here to say, look at how beautiful this area is, and let's just keep going with that. So even something like a race and this marathon is going to help us with awareness. Collaborative research with local and state conservation agencies, including other colleges and other universities. Recycle. We've recycled in the past cans and plastic, and we've reused paper. Or even just to use things again. It's one of the reasons why you worked in teams today, instead of everybody having his or her own. I've got copies of everything. If you want anything, please, I can send them electronically and you can view them that way. So to look at the donation and planting of trees for special events and honors, we've done it. And we thank you, Poor Handmaids, for letting us beautify our area by allowing us to do that. Also, as Sister Carlene had mentioned, we are an EPA compliant campus, and we work really hard at that. So thank you to all of you who contribute to this, because Ancilla College, where we are right now, is just one part of all of us. Questions, comments?
No, I'll just scratch my back.
Oh, scratching back with the shoehorn. Oh, see, it's double duty. That's environmental.
That's all right.
So
We're going green.
more than one purpose. And this is just a list of my resources. So in conclusion, I want to thank you so much for all that you do, all that you've done, and all that you continue to do to help both the Earth and our local environment. If anything that you take from this lecture, recognize that you do make a difference, and we recognize that. Any questions that I can answer for you? All right, thank you so much for your time.